Can I go to an antweight event without losing in some stupid way? Yes, I did it the first time. Can I do it again? Apparently not. Hello everyone, this is Explosive Robotics and welcome to my review video for Wisconsin Robot Combat July 2023. In this competition there were two separate brackets, a regular antweight competition and a plastic antweight competition. Our team brought 3 bots to this event, Hellspear for the regular class and 2 brand new bots for the plastic class, Cheddar Luck next time and Total Chaos. Let's start with Hellspear. This version of it was made using a chassis design we found online. It uses a 3-cell battery, and unlike the last version, it can actually hit hard and is capable of doing damage to opponents. Cheddar Luck next time is just a plastic Hellspear, but there are some differences. First, it uses a 2-cell battery instead of a 3-cell, because when I tried to put in a 3-cell, the battery got really hot and started smoking. So I decided to just not use 3 cells before the event, just in case that happened again. It has a much thicker blade than Hellspear and a lot of spares for it. We also made a blade with teeth that will lower to the ground. This blade was made specifically to fight Abrasion, who I thought was the most threatening bot in the plastic competition. Finally, there's Total Chaos, which was not driven by me. This bot was made from a kit we found online and then redesigned. It uses the same blade designs as Cheddar, but I think its blade was lower to the ground than Cheddar's. The first fight of mine was Hellspear versus Jimmy V0. Jimmy V0 was at the last antweight competition I was at, and they were by far my favorite bot to fight because of the insane hits they caused. They were also the only bot that Hellspear beat. This version of Hellspear was much more powerful, but it looked like Jimmy VO was upgraded as well, so I wasn't sure which way this fight was going to go. When the match started, it went nothing like I expected. I spun Hellspear's blade up to full speed, and immediately the blade caused Hellspear to start spinning around. The bot was very hard to control. Fortunately, I landed this shot right here, which disabled Jimmy's weapon, giving me more time to figure out how to control the bot. I was hitting the walls a lot, and eventually Hellspear got flipped upside down, and the blade had less of an effect on the bot's mobility. From here, I was able to land more hits and do some damage without worrying about taking damage from my opponent. And that's pretty much how the rest of the fight went. Near the end, Jimmy had trouble moving, but it wasn't completely immobile, so I decided to keep hitting it with my weapon at low speed to show aggression. The judge's decision went to Hellspear. The next fight was Total Chaos versus Twofold. It did not go well for Total Chaos. Twofold's wedge was too low for Total Chaos to get a good bite on. Total Chaos was also really out of control for some reason. Every time they hit the wall, they'd go flying around the box, sometimes flipping over. When they were upside down, the blade was too high to hit Twofold. Overall, the fight was just Total Chaos being unable to damage its opponent and Twofold being very much in control of itself and opponent. Here are some of the best hits.
We saw the weapon of, now we haven't talked about it, they just kind of felt able to get the fight that they were looking for.
Hellspear's next fight was against Abaddon, made by Repeat Robotics, the same team that ripped Rampage apart a year ago. After seeing Abaddon's first fight, I could tell this fight would not go well for Hellspear. I gave Hellspear a different blade that had less surface area, so it would be harder for Abaddon to deliver an uppercutting shot to it. But it didn't matter because this is how the first few seconds of the fight went. For some reason, Hellspear's blade couldn't spin up after the first hit. I think the motor got knocked loose and the blade was hitting something. Anyway, I wasn't ready to give up yet, so I kept driving at him, and then I remembered that our top panel was made of PLA, not TPU. Hellspear wasn't completely made of TPU so that the chassis wouldn't bend out of shape too much. We wanted to make the top panel out of aluminum, but we never got around to it. After the motor came out of the bot, I tapped out because I wasn't going to win anyway, so there was no point taking extra damage. While I was in the pits, I heard someone say, "The more you win, the more you fight. The more you fight, the more you learn. The more you learn, the more you win." Which is exactly why we've been doing so bad at these competitions. The less we win, the less we fight. The less we fight, the less we learn. The less we learn, the less we win. Hopefully at this event that all changes though. Now we're back with Total Chaos. It was fighting a bot called Fuego. When I looked at Fuego, I could tell it was going to get destroyed. It looked like it was made with a lot of thin parts. The blade was also thin, so I didn't expect it to survive the first few weapon-to-weapon collisions. And it turns out I was right. After hitting the wall a bunch of times, Total Chaos went weapon to weapon and Fuego's weapon was destroyed. Total Chaos continued attacking and ripping off small pieces until the wheel came off, and then Fuego was counted out. After that, Cheddar Luck Next Time finally got a chance to fight. It took so long for it to get to fight because a lot of bots dropped out of the plastic bracket, so there was no one for it to fight in the first round. Its opponent was Division, a really small and low-to-the-ground wedge bot. I actually started off this fight by making a mistake. If you remember the video where I tested Cheddar against a wedge bot, you can see in the 5th fight that Cheddar's first move was to drive forward instead of spinning up its weapon. This resulted in the wedge bot hitting it and preventing it from spinning up. I specifically told myself that during fights with Cheddar, my first action should be to spin the weapon and then move out of the square afterward. But I completely forgot about that, and I thought it was too close to the wall to spin up properly, so I drove to the center of the box. Newsflash, I can't spin my weapon if the other bot is underneath me. Here I got another chance to spin up, but my weapon just didn't start moving for some reason. When I finally got the blade spinning, Division rammed me into the wall and I flipped over. Now my blade was too high to hit them. Division could pretty much control me at will at this point. They often rammed me into the wall, and a few times I tipped on my side. I hoped that I would be able to flip back over by doing this. Eventually, Division made me land a direct hit to the corner of the arena, which flipped me back over, but also disabled my left wheel. I spun my blade a few times, but it didn't really do anything to my opponent. Unsurprisingly, Division won the decision. It occurred to me after this fight that Cheddar Luck Next Time had the weakest weapon out of all the bots we brought to this competition. Hellspear was the only bot with a 3-cell battery. Total Chaos also had a 2-cell battery like Cheddar, but its weapon system used a gear ratio to give the weapon more torque. Cheddar had a 2-cell battery but didn't use a gear ratio. Its blade was the slowest and had the least torque. The next fight was Hugius vs Hellspear. Hugius looked like it had a threatening weapon, but they lost some belts in their last fight, so I wasn't too worried about fighting them. That's the nice thing about fighting bots in the losers bracket. Everyone is there for a reason, so everyone has at least some weakness that you might be able to exploit. I started this fight upside down so I could hit their wheels better. There were some big hits at first. After one weapon-to-weapon hit, Hellspear's weapon got stuck and Hugius got stuck on its side. They had to spin their weapon down to get back on both wheels, so I was able to ram them without taking much damage. We got stuck somehow and had to be separated. After we were separated, I continued to ram Hugius, but they could barely move, so I backed off and let the countdown begin. And I guess those hits I delivered at the beginning of the match did more damage than I initially thought, because the right wheel of Hugius fell off as the countdown ended. After the fight, I realized that Hellspear's weapon motor was completely fine. The reason the blade stopped working was because during this hit, their blade bent upward and peeled back part of the frame and couldn't spin up again afterward. The frame had no other significant damage, so we just cut off the piece that was in the way of the weapon instead of replacing the whole thing. I looked at the bracket and Hellspear's next fight was against a bot called Darkwing. This name sounded intimidating, but they didn't upload a picture next to their bot's name on the roster, so I had no idea what my opponent was going to look like. I could have went around asking if anyone knew where they were so I could see what kind of bot I was fighting next, but for some reason I didn't. It's not like I would have changed anything on Hellspear though. We didn't have a lot of time on our hands, so instead of testing if the other blade still worked, we decided just not to use it to be safe. Hellspear was going to be the same for all of its future opponents. Eventually, it finally came time for me to fight. I got called up to the box and I saw a small child holding a lifter bot that looked like it wasn't held together with the strongest materials. I'm gonna feel bad about this one. Okay, fight starts. Here's one hit, here's another, 3, 4, and now the bot can't move. KO. You know, after seeing Hellspear win 3 of its 4 fights in one event, it occurred to me that maybe Hellspear wasn't just a bot that would pick up one win here and there. Maybe something that I built was actually good. Oh, it's time for the next fight. Total Chaos was fighting a lifter called Red Box. This was another wedge bot that was really low to the ground. Once again, Total Chaos had a hard time hitting its opponent at a good angle. They spent most of the fight driving over the top of their opponent and occasionally hitting the wall and flipping over. Red Box did a good job controlling Total Chaos and got some lifts in. When there was 40 seconds left in the fight, Total Chaos's weapon stopped and never spun back up. At the end of the fight, Total Chaos had done minimal damage to Red Box, while Red Box disabled Total Chaos's weapon and had better control of the fight. Red Box won the decision and Total Chaos was eliminated from the tournament. Now Hellspear was fighting Midnight, a bot that's similar to Hellspear. Random question, is the ability to move important for a combat robot? Yeah, that's what I thought.
Go. 2 hard-hitting horizontal spinners. No drive on Hellspear. 10.
It just
nine,
shut off.
8,
There.
7, 6.
Why? Nope, the entire thing's dead.
4, 3, 2, 1. And beating it.
And now Hellspear is out of the tournament. Why did this happen? You see, Hellspear gets powered on by turning a screw with an Allen wrench. There was not a lot of table space at the event, so all of our stuff was just crammed together on this tiny little table and was really unorganized. Before the Midnight fight, we couldn't find the right wrench, so I grabbed what I thought was the right one and hoped for the best. It was the wrong size. It was only able to barely turn the screw into the on position, and then the hit against the wall turned it off. And then like 5 minutes after the fight, we found the correct one. Well, you know what they say, battles are won and lost in the pits. And considering my opponent's name was Midnight, I think it's safe to assume that a certain spirit was involved with the outcome of that fight. Alright, now it's Cheddar Luck next time's turn to fight. I was fighting Twofold, another low wedge bot. I decided to use the low blade for this fight so I could reach them. The chances of me having to fight Abrasion were low at this point because I was in the loser's bracket, so I thought I didn't have to worry about saving the blade. It worked really well at first. It did a lot of damage to the front of Twofold, way more than Total Chaos was able to do. Then the motor came loose and I couldn't use my blade. So now it was a pushing match and Twofold was way better set up to win that, even with half a wedge. At the end of the fight, their broken wedge and my broken weapon accounted for equal damage on the scorecard. Control went to Twofold and they won the fight. Now all of Team Explosive Robotics bots were eliminated. I did get to keep a piece of Twofold's wedge though. Well, that's the end of that. All our bots are eliminated, so now we have to go home and think about our performance and what should be done for the future events. I'm gonna go through this one bot at a time. Total Chaos. It worked well, but Driver 5 needs more practice driving, and I think it should get some of the low teeth blades that Cheddar uses so it can deal with wedges better. Speaking of Cheddar, after the event we tried putting another 3-cell battery in it and nothing bad happened. So Cheddar is going to use 3-cell batteries from now on because the blade could use some more power. And finally, there was Hellspear, who had the best performance out of all 3 bots. The only thing being changed about Hellspear is the weapon motor. The guy from Repeat Robotics told us about a weapon motor that was smaller and more durable than the one we were using, so we're going to put that on Hellspear. Also, Hellspear just became the first bot in Explosive Robotics history to get more wins than losses during an antweight event, going 3-2 at this event. Our team as a whole still hasn't done that though. We went 4-6 at this event. The best win to loss ratio for us was last year when Rampage went 2-2 at an event. Unlike the last 2 events I went to, I'm satisfied with our bot's performance at this event. The next event won't be a while, so I guess I can relax before I have to start preparing for it. Wait, what's that? 'Cause I'm a